Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Krista Porter, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Commission's weekly webinar series where we cover a variety of topics that may be of interest to libraries. We broadcast the show live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. But if you're unable to join us on Wednesdays, that's fine. We do record the show as we are doing today. And you'll be able to watch it later at your convenience. And I will show you at the end of today's show where you can access all of our show recordings. Both the live show and the recordings are free and open to anyone to watch. So please do spread the word, share with anyone you think might be interested in any of the topics we have on NCompass Live. For those of you who might be watching who are not from Nebraska, the Nebraska Library Commission is the state agency for libraries. So similar to your whatever state library. So we provide consulting and training and databases and resources and grants to all types of libraries in the state. So you will find shows on NCompass Live for all types of libraries. Public, academic, K-12, corrections, museums, historical societies, et cetera, et cetera. Really, our only criteria is that something to do with libraries. We have presentations. We do sessions that we bring in guest speakers, and we do some sessions that we have Nebraska Library Commission staff on to do for us for programs and resources and things we do through the Library Commission. And today we have a mixture of that. This is a program from we're going to be talking about the National Book Festival and the Book Festival near you that is Nebraska. But we also have a guest speaker with us. So we have Tessa Timperley here from our communications coordinator here at the Library Commission. Good morning, Tessa.
Morning.
And Mylisa Larsen, who's the author of one of our Great Reads youth selection for 2026 for the book festival, is with us as well. Good morning, Mylisa.
Good morning.
All right. So Tessa, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us all about the National Book Festival and our local activities.
Yeah. So the festival near you is a branch off of the National Book Festival, which happens every year in Washington, D.C. It normally happens around Labor Day weekend or a week before, a week after. They kind of change it a little bit every year. This year it's August 22nd. And we always send the Nebraska Library Commission and the Nebraska Center for the Book always send a Nebraska contingent to staff our booth in the Great Reads section of the festival in the exhibit hall. So each state has a booth from their Center for the Book, and we all get to pick a youth and adult great read each year to represent our state, as well as just have literature and bookmarks and activity pages to kind of share the authors and books that are coming out of our individual states every year. So it's a really great way to connect with people outside of Nebraska about authors and stories about our state. So we love to go and kind of just represent Nebraska every year. And this year, Mylisa is going to join us, and her book, Quagmire, Tiarello Couldn't Be Better, is our Great Reads youth selection. So, Mylisa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm here as the author of Quagmire, Tiarello Couldn't Be Better, which is a book that I really enjoyed creating. Quagmire is a kid with formidable survival skills and the attitude to match. He has been keeping secrets for a long time and has discovered that sometimes the best defense is a really spiky offense. But school's out now as this book begins, and he is looking forward to a long summer of not doing much. And that what he's not planning on is being the unwilling passenger on a wild cross-country road trip that his mom takes him on as her mental health kind of gets worse. He's not planning on meeting an uncle that he didn't know exists. And he's not planning really on looking at the way he's been running his life and starting to think about, is this the way I want it to be? So he is one of the my favorite characters that I've ever created, even though he is a bit of a punk sometimes.
Yeah. So just to give a little background, the Great Reads from Great Places has been going on for over a decade now. And how Nebraska picks our books is we choose our adult book is always the One Book, One Nebraska from that current year. And then our youth book is always the previous year's Nebraska Book Award winner in our children's and youth category. So Mylisa, I'm going to say your name wrong so many times.
It's okay. I think my parents spelled it wrong for how they wanted it said, which rhymes with Teresa, if that helps. So it's Mylisa Teresa, but not spelled anywhere near that.
I knew I'm gonna just fall over that all morning.
No worries.
Your book won the youth teen novel selection, and that was last year, and we got to meet at the Nebraska Book Festival. So that's how we choose our book each year, and that's how Quagmire became our Great Read selection. And I have up on the screen last year our books that we took last year. But this year we're going to be going, and there's always a bookstore at the National Book Festival where they sell the great reads from each state. We've got stickers, we put on the books that say these are the state's great read. So that's really fun. And we're going to have a booth. I have a slide for that as well. So here's last year's author. So we have a booth that represents Nebraska, like I talked about, and our author was able to come last year as well. And it's a really fun event to get to see a lot of different people in a very short amount of time. But
it's only a single day, correct? It's not like a single day or anything. Yeah.
It's a Saturday from about 8 to 6:30 that the exhibit hall is open. And you just see person after person after person, but they're all book lovers. They're all readers. Sometimes they're librarians and teachers looking for curriculum about all the states. Sometimes it's parents with their kids just trying to do something fun and indoors on a potentially very hot day in DC. So it just goes, sometimes it's just adults who want to come talk about books with other book lovers. So we see a lot of great people come by our booth and ask us about the books we're talking about and want to know why this book represents Nebraska. Can you tell us a little bit how your book represents Nebraska?
Sure. It's a little bit atypical, I think, for someone who lives in upstate New York, which is where I lived when I wrote this book, to be writing about Nebraska, but it's not as out there as it would seem, because my children, two of them, lived in Lincoln for many years, and Nebraska is one of the dear places to them, and so of course I've been there to visit them. And I thought, I feel like upstate New York and Nebraska share a little bit of a, I'm not going to say identity crisis, but just what we are is not what people think we are. So I feel like when you say, oh, you're from upstate New York, for most people, they say, they flash immediately to New York City and the skyscrapers and the Statue of Liberty. And you're kind of like, no, not that part of New York. It's the part with the lakes and the cows, and they're like, and I feel like that sometimes Nebraska has that same kind of, like, you say Nebraska to 98% of the people and they think corn and maybe Huskers. And if they're into volleyball, that amazing volleyball team that, the women's volleyball team that can, but if you're from Nebraska, you know that Nebraska is a big place. And there are sections that are unlike other sections. And there's topography that you didn't know about from the outside. And there's whole ecosystems that you didn't know about from, networks TV, like flyover kind of like. So I felt like these two places, they kind of have some things in common. And so taking Quag, who is fictional, but seems real to me sometimes, from one place that people don't quite understand to another place that maybe people haven't looked at as closely as they might, felt interesting to me.
Mhm.
And of course the tie-in with, me having been there and having been like, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow, so that's how that happened.
I didn't realize, but Krista's also from New York, so
Oh my gosh, yeah, I was gonna say, Mylisa, you are speaking to me. I am originally from upstate New York myself, Saratoga Springs.
Well, yeah.
And I moved here 25 years ago. And yes, it is very similar. I get that. The preconceived notions that people have about you when you say where you're from, and that you really have to be open-minded when you go somewhere, that what you think isn't always going to be what it's like. Be open to the fact that you're going to learn new things about this new place.
Right. And I think taking a 14-year-old character who did not ask to come here, it did make me a little nervous, because it doesn't matter where he is. Quag is not the most, he doesn't censor, and so I was kind of like, I hope like that they can see. And I think from talking to people afterwards that we did manage that we can see that this kid is slowly falling in love with this new place, that when he first comes, he's like, he feels lost in for several reasons. But by the end, he's telling you about the storms that roll in this way, and these birds that are almost like up to your shoulder, and these, so that kind of falling in love with a new place, even though you may have not, as many children don't have had say in that move, right? As a kid, we often don't say, you know what, time for change. Let's move. It's what happens is one of our parents gets a new job, and so we're moving, or the landlord raises the rent again, and this is not sustainable, and so we're moving, or, we're going closer to family because grandma needs more help, and so we're moving. And so often kids don't have a say in that. And the change that happens as you at first resist and then start to see all the beauty and the cool new things and the ways that this might make different things possible in your life than the patterns you had set up in the old place, I think was interesting to me, at least.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think people coming to the Nebraska booth are going to be really pleasantly surprised by an author who's not from or currently living in Nebraska, representing Nebraska. It's a little different for us, but also just the way you talk about it, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised about how this book is connected to our state, honestly.
Yeah, you have a gorgeous state, and I love that you haven't been overrun, but I feel like some people have missed out on some things. You have the sand hills. You have these amazing like flyovers where cranes just sort of pour out of the skies. You have you have these trees and these ravines and these rivers, and that have,
If you're coming to Nebraska, you need to get off the highway I-80 that goes through.
Yes.
You go through and you say, oh, it's just open and wide and flat, but it's not. And I think anyone from any state can identify with that too, because I'm sure, we're talking about New York and Nebraska, but I bet people in other states have the same thing. People always think of my state as just this, but there's so many other things here.
Right. It's a big world, and within that world, there are so many pockets and ways of being and just gorgeous things to discover if you get off the beaten track a little bit and don't just whoosh through, on the straight line that the interstate makes. Yeah. So.
Yeah. one of the things we always have kind of ready to go for the National Book Festival is our favorite thing about our state, because that's a question a lot of people ask us, like, what's your favorite thing about Nebraska? And then also, do you have any fun facts about your state? So we always try to have some fun facts. And my coworker, Gabe Kramer, who also goes to represent our state from the Library Commission, he always says his favorite thing about Nebraska is that there aren't very many people here. He loves that it's not crowded. I think his fun fact is always, there are more cows in Nebraska than people.
Nice.
But yeah, that's what you were making me think of. So I'm going to move from the National Book Festival into our Festival Near You programming, which is connected to the National Book Festival. We got some grant money from the Institute of Museum and Library Services and COSLA to help promote the National Book Festival in our state, as well as our Great Read Selection. And the way we're doing that this year is taking Quagmire and turning it into some book club kits and author visits for schools and libraries. So this year we will have 50 books available for schools, classrooms, and library groups to check out from the Nebraska Library Commission as book club kits. And we will have some discussion questions and activity pages that they can do along with that book, as well as 8 virtual author visits that Mylisa is going to offer for those schools and libraries who check out the book club kit. So that's just a little bit information about the festival near you in general. And let's see, I've got too many slides, I think. Book club kits and author talk. So book club kits, how we do them is they are available to any librarian or school library in the state of Nebraska. They can check them out for free. And if you've ever checked a book club kit out from us before, you know how that process works, but we try to make it as painless as possible. And you get those books for a certain amount of time, usually I think 30 days, and then you send them back to us when you're done. So you don't have to buy, 25 new books for your classroom or 15 books for your teen group at the library. And then when you're done with them, you send them back to us and we get to share them with a whole new group of people.
So you said here's a question. You said there's 50 books that are available. Yes. So do people request how many people? A library wouldn't get all 50 at once. They would say how many they want.
They need. So if somebody needs 10 books and then a classroom also wants to do 25 books at the same time, we wanted to get enough books so that they could go out to multiple places.
At the same time, right? Yep. Okay, nice.
Especially with this being a chapter novel and not a picture book, we wanted to have an avenue that people could have it for, a decent amount of time and be able to read the book. Mm-hmm. Just like a book club would.
Right. And you can schedule, are these just gonna be available through our regular book club kit page, or is there a special place to go to order these particular ones?
They are going to be available through our regular book club kit page. So it should be the same process as every other book club kit you check out. Okay. It will be similar maybe to the One Book, One Nebraska, where you get some bookmarks and you get some discussion questions and an activity page kind of a thing along with it. So it's a little bit more comes with it than just maybe a regular book club kit, but the process should be exactly the same. Okay. They are not currently live yet. Our tracking says the books come today. And our book club kit person is out this week. So my hope is that next week they will have time to process the books and get them in the collection ready for checkout. Right. So we will put out a post and probably do a press release when those books are live.
Mm-hmm. And those are things you can, usually you would, when you request them, you decide when you want them. So if you're planning a discussion at your library or your school, you'll say this is going to be in, August, September. So that's when we want this many books to come. So you would pick the dates when you need them for. Yeah. Now, are these only going to be available so this year, or is this going to be then just an ongoing permanent one of our book club kits?
So after this program, we use the grant money to purchase the books because that's a pretty big expense always. And then also to facilitate the author visits. But after this year is over, those books will remain in our book club kit collection. So they will be able to be checked out by schools and libraries as far into the future as those book club kits survive.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then moving on to the second half of our grant program this year is author visits. So we love, I think, hearing an author talk about their work really brings that work alive. It opens up more topics for discussion. It maybe brings up things that people didn't think to connect that book to. So we love that Mylisa is willing to offer those, and they are for the first 8 libraries or schools, first come, first serve, and you'll contact her directly to set those up. And once we hit 8, she'll have to start charging you for them, but
we have funding for 8 of them.
We have funding
Yeah,
for 8
so if you go to my website, there's a contact page, and just reach out. I've already had a couple of teachers before we started this just reach out about, hey, do you have a couple extra copies? We're trying to share them around the room kind of thing. And so it's been really nice to, along with, as long as I have author copies, to like send a couple, but also to say, if you want like everyone to have a copy, here's a resource. So it's really lovely. It's a really lovely program that you have going here. I will say that I came last year for your Nebraska festival. And while I was there, I thought, well, I'm here, you know, and so I visited 15 schools in the 2 larger cities over 3 days, which I was tired, I will say, but I will also say that those kids had the best questions. I was really impressed, especially with, it was everywhere from, because I also write picture books, it was everywhere from like elementary youngers to 5th grade to, I did a high school, I did several middle schools, junior highs. But especially in the junior high and high school ranks, I thought the questions were just so interesting. And especially there were a couple of writing clubs at the junior highs that I met with. And the questions from those kids just like knocked my socks off, because I thought these are questions that actual writers ask. They weren't just like, oh, I have an unrealistic, you know, picture of what this is like, and I'm asking you like these kinds of questions. They were, I'm doing my own work, and this is a problem that I'm running up against. And how do I like make my characters, I know they're too flat, but I don't know how to make them, you know, real, and just such good questions. And so we were able to go over some of those things where it's like, well, part of it is just like skill building, right? But here's 3 things. Here's 3 things to start with. If you've got a character and they're seeming too flat, you as a writer can try this or this or this. And that's a place to start. They were just really, really perceptive, and I'm actually doing this work kind of questions. And yeah, I was kind of like, whoa, okay. A little Miss 6th grader who's going to write me under the table in the next 4 years, you know. It was great to see that, because I feel like as I was growing up, it did not occur to me that real people wrote books. I don't know how I thought we got into the library, but just, I'm from a very rural background. We never had an author visit. It just didn't connect for some reason, even though I was a very bookish kid. And I feel like there's a much higher level, at least from what I saw when I was in Nebraska, of kids actually doing their own writing in a pretty serious way. So that was cool to see.
It's nice to see. That's the future of writing, a future of
You're going to have like, you're gonna have so many like people vying for that like spot, over the next bit. So
maybe one of those kids will be our book award winner in like 10 years or something, 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, they will.
I didn't realize you did so many school visits when you came last year for the book festival. I love that.
Well, I figure if you're gonna be someplace, you may as well go do the thing, right? So,
Yeah.
and it really was,
a lovely
thing.
That's a lot in 3 days.
It's a lot.
Well, I worked with a local bookstore there, and so they were very helpful. And then some librarians that I was just like, we're gonna do this for not very much. Are there places you want to send me? And they're like, yes, there are. So,
Yes, I do.
yeah. So this festival near you is just going to be, I think, more of the same and super fun. Excited about it.
Yeah.
I think it's great that we can do these virtual author visits too now. Yeah, I mean, you were saying, Mylisa, that it's like when we were kids, it was hard to have these because they would have to actually come to the, and that was really harder to travel, across the country, or, the cost. But now that these visits can be done virtually and so interactive with program, things like this, like Zoom or GoToWebinar or whatever. I love that we're able to connect people and authors so much easier now.
Right. And to have the kids be able to go back and forth in such it's live, right? They're asking the question, I'm answering the question kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a really nice new layer to what you can do in 365 days,
And going along with that, we've talked about how big the state of Nebraska is, and you were able to come in person, and you were able to do, I'm assuming, Lincoln and Omaha.
Right.
So, and that's pretty common. So to be able to do virtual, out in Sydney or Scotts Bluff, or Chadron, some place that you probably would be much more expensive and time consuming to go visit personally. If you're only in the state for 3 days, that's not really an option. So to be able to have these virtual visits that can span our entire state and not just a couple of our cities is really what the festival near you is about. It's about bringing it to the entire state of Nebraska and not just the capital, which is
right. Because those of us that are growing up in small town America, it would be nice if we knew that this was an option before we were 30. It would be great.
And I also like your point that your author visit doesn't have to be, it could be different things for different groups. So if a school wants you to come in and do a traditional author talk, if a writing group wants you to come in and do more of a author, what it is to be an author kind of talk versus talking about the book specifically, that's a possibility. And we're leaving it up to the organizations that want to book you to let you know what they want. So there is some flexibility there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have those conversations because I feel like if you're asking for a visit, you have an idea of why you want that. And I would much prefer to fit into that idea because you are the one that knows your kids, that knows the audience that will be there. And so we can do a Q&A if your class has read the book and kind of dig deeper into the text. We can be talking about mental health if we want to, because that's a part of the text. It's a text that has some interesting structural things going on in it where there are traditional linear chapters, but in between those chapters, there are short pieces where Quag is using both some sound files and some things that he's noticing about birds. How he gets into that is accidental, but yeah, to kind of comment on his own life in ways that even he is not quite prepared to handle directly. And so that's led to some really creative teachers coming up with some interesting projects that use like a structural element to comment on some of the kids' writing that they're doing. We can talk about creativity, or yes, writers groups, very welcome. So whatever you want to talk about, I'm up for that.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull up the website really quick that people can go to learn a little bit more. So if you go to the Center for the Book website, and under programs, there's a National Book Festival tab. And that will take you to this page where we talk a little bit about the National Book Festival in general, but also our Festival Near You programming. We will eventually have a link to where you can reserve that book club kit once they're live. We have some discussion questions, and after this episode, we will have a link to the recording of this so that people can hear us talk about it in person a little bit. We also have some information about author talks, where we'll have the link to Mylisa's website so you can contact her, and then just a little deeper dive into the Great Reads books, the adult and the youth selection. So I love the discussion questions and activity page you came up with. And after I looked at yours, I don't know why I was expecting just some basic discussion questions, and it's a lot more interactive than that. So I'm going to pull it up really quick. I love the artwork of your book so much. I did add a little bit to the top of your page with the artwork from your book, but you talk about where he travels through the United States and kind of mapping out his journey. And then you have a fun section about books, or about birds, which plays a huge role, like you already mentioned, that he gets into birding a little bit. But just thinking about how people can interact with this a little bit more than just, your basic book club discussion questions, especially from a kid's point of view or a teen's point of view. I really enjoy that. And it's made me think about even more activity pages we could make for this book. But yeah, do you want to talk about those discussion questions at all?
The discussion questions, it's always hard when you're trying to make up a discussion question page for a book festival, because as Tess has pointed out, you're going to see everybody there. And the different constituencies that you're going to see are going to have different needs. So public libraries are often looking for something different than school librarians, slightly, and parents and kids are looking for something different entirely, and grownups who just really love to read in the, middle grade and YA space, because there's some really fun stuff going on there, are looking for something yet again. And so the activity page, I think, is kind of pitched more for upper elementary and junior high, middle school kind of area. But I guess I've been a little bit surprised about who's reading this book. Some books you write and they're pretty solidly, like If I Were a Kangaroo, it pretty solidly stays in the preschool range, There's some facts in the back for the older brothers and sisters, but like that's where that one parks. This one, I guess I was aiming for where I often write novels, and that is, the tweens. They never call themselves that, so I don't know how we got that term, right? But the kids that are in the 13 to 15, 16 age was where I'm thinking, okay, this is the sweet spot. I'm not surprised that there are kids in 5th grade reading it. There's no reason why they shouldn't. It's certainly, accessible and all of those things and appropriate for them. And I expected that. I did not expect the older kids to be reading it as much as they are. But when I think about it, it makes sense to me. Quag is a pretty old 14-year-old just because of what his life has been like. And the themes that are in there, certainly many kids in high school are dealing with these kinds of things. And he's funny, so it never hurts, right? So I've been surprised, I guess, at the range. But yeah, I think that we've got this activity page, but there's also resources on my website if you're in one of the other groups, right? So yeah, I think it's just been a book that I've been a little bit surprised at the range.
Yeah, I think it could easily be a high school book club book.
Yeah.
The topics, like you said, it covers, and the idea of forced change is, I mean, honestly, that's probably a huge one for any like middle school through high school and even college age kid.
Right. And there is an older teen character named Maggie that he meets when he's in Nebraska, who's 17. So in that sense, it's like, oh, well, Maggie was just there when I showed up, and so she's in the book. But I didn't really think that through. But so it's not just a 14-year-old, which sometimes older kids like resist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. And I really enjoy that about that this is not, a super narrow book as far as
Right.
that it can
Right.
really span a good. I mean, I think adults would even enjoy and have enjoyed this book for a book club.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've met this kid.
Yeah.
So those of you that are in education, I feel like Quag is many kids that I've met over the years who present as, oh my gosh, kid, do you just have to make every single thing hard, But as you get to know these kids, you often find that they are holding up a whole lot of their world. And there is a reason for some of the stuff, and that once you get to know them, they're often just some of my favorite people. And I just have such respect for what they've done in their young lives to manage circumstances that we all come up against. I mean, it's not unusual to have to deal with mental illness, either in ourselves or in our family. That is statistically just going to be a thing that is going to be there, right? It's not rare.
No.
But sometimes I think we're doing better with that in this generation, certainly. But sometimes because of past stigmas, you need a spot to talk about that is somebody else. That's a kid named Quagmire instead of you. It helps. Gives you a little bit of psychological distance to say, oh yeah, yeah, I recognize that, right? So.
Oh, definitely. And just the idea of seeing, I mean, there's been so many studies and examples of the act of seeing yourself or your situation in a book is so transformative and helpful for both children and adults that
yeah, in so many ways. And I think that there's a great movement to make all those stories available, and even within that, we still have a long way to go. And I think one of the spots where you don't get to see a lot of kids in books is rural. And it's, and I don't quite know why that is, but there's a lot of us that grow up on farms, so but yeah, it's good to see yourself, and it's good to see other lives very unlike yours. Because seeing that in a book helps you when you connect in real life, right? And seeing that in a book helps you ask questions that maybe you hadn't known to ask. And seeing that in a book, I think, helps you manage relationships in real life in ways that are more healthy. Just because Quag isn't easy. He isn't easy. He's not the kid that like makes it easy. And so when you meet that kid, maybe, or maybe not, but maybe there's a question in your head now about why. And is this all there is, or is this just here because I am dealing with some stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, I know reading is a huge pathway towards having more empathy towards different types of people and being able to, just like you were saying, not understand, but at least have a point of access to somebody else's point of view. And
right,
because otherwise we're just going around with our own individual point of view. Never, you can't dive into somebody else's life like you can in a book.
Right. It would be a little intrusive when you, when an author's like right in the head, if you try and do that in real life, they're like, hey, personal space, So yeah, I think that is a place that we can look kind of through each other's eyes, and have more empathy. Sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, we're getting really close to the end of this session. Krista, have we had any questions pop up?
There was some at the beginning about what we're doing, that we did answer about the process and what's happening with the books and whatnot. But yeah, does anybody have any other questions? Anything else you want to ask about what we're doing with these book club kits and the author visits? Any questions to Tessa about the book festival? Or questions to Mylisa about writing or books or this book or any other things she has? You can type into the question section. For anyone who hasn't, it's the looks like a speech bubble, the question mark on it. That'll open up that section for you if you do have anything else that you want to ask.
While we wait for that, have you ever been to the National Book Festival before?
I have not, which is a little ridiculous, but I haven't. So I'm super excited about that, because what could be better? A book festival is kind of my idea of a great Saturday afternoon personally. And, I've been to many, state and local ones. And I'll just tell you one of my favorite things about a book festival. And that is that you watch, it's a little odd because you're across the table that's only like this wide, right? And people are coming by and they're looking at the goods as they walk by, right? And one of my favorite sort of sociological experiment kind of things about a book festival is that you will see kids react to the cover positively or negatively and make a choice before they ever touch the book. And it's just so fascinating to see, for me, to see how those book designers did that and who they pull in and who picks it up and who picks it up but doesn't want anybody to see that they picked it up. And so that whole thing of people watching is fabulous. And I love talking to the kids about, there's another novel where a lot of the kids are in a jazz band thing, and people come up and be like, I play the clarinet. I'm like, cool, just like Jake, and then they're telling me about their concerts and whatever, it's just really fun to just see.
The things that kids want to talk about is just, you never know. It's always a surprise.
What they react to. And then books. Just like an entire convention center full of books. Yes, please.
Have you had a chance to look at the author list yet?
I
have not. I'm sure it's going to be like, ooh,
Yeah. Can you bring that up on there? Because I know it also said when you were showing the National Book Festival, something about being live streamed too. Some of the sessions are going to be live streamed from the National. I know they've done that before.
So the National Book Festival has its own site, obviously, and you can learn all about it. They are requiring tickets this year. I think they just want to get a better head count. So in order to enter the festival, you need a ticket. They are free tickets. It's not like a paid ticket. I think they just want to keep a better track of attendance. So, Melissa, I have your ticket already. I did this.
Well, I was just thinking, oh, better get on that.
So this is something, yeah, if someone is still planning, you still have time to go to it. It's on August 22nd. So you've got like a month to plan your trip to DC if you want to. Just get yourself some free tickets.
You can see festival information just in general. They have tons of information about getting there, the metro, what you should maybe look for. They always have free posters this year, and the poster this year is so cute. I love it. It's very, I have it up on several of my slides. It's very colorful, very graphic, and it's one of my favorite posters from the last few years for sure. And then authors and speakers, they have a whole list, A to Z. They have a huge number of speakers every year. There's multiple author sessions going on throughout the day. So it's a huge lineup. You can go through and see all the authors that are going to be there just by last name. But
because just like Nebraska, each state may be bringing their authors along, as well.
Yeah, so you'll have authors that aren't listed on this that are there for their great reads table, just like Mylisa is. So here's some of the general roundup they've got this year. So
Tiarello.
Scorsese is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
But obviously, and then Ann Patchett is not MC, they always have one author who is their sort of big, oh my gosh, my mind's blanking on the word. Did you say something?
I think she's a keynote speaker or something like that.
Speaker, or sort of like their...
Oh, they're calling them headliners on the page there.
Yeah. Headliners. She's been in a lot of their media about it. I think she's kind of like the host author who's overall this year. But it's a great lineup. It's always a great lineup. And I also love that they have huge author names, but they also have author names that aren't maybe at, your huge names that people love their books. They've got nonfiction, fiction, poetry. I mean, it's just all over the place. So
I like how they do have I get the after each author in parentheses, like showing how there's so many different genres that they are representing. Yeah.
So, and like we mentioned, they live stream some of the headliners, but then they also record and have recordings of the author talks available after the festival. So you can always go back and watch an author talk. They keep those up. And throughout the day, they will have a BookSpan going. They'll have C-SPAN talking to authors and attendees throughout the day. So that's really fun. Yeah.
Well, it's very exciting. I'm excited to be both at that and to meet some of you virtually in Nebraska, in whatever corner of Nebraska you may be in. So
we do have a comment that came in. A librarian from Lexington says, I lead a Golden Sower book club at the middle school. Golden Sower is our Children's Choice Awards here in Nebraska. So the kids vote on different book award winners. And she says, I lead a Golden Sower book club at the middle school, and we purchase the books for the kids. We will definitely be reading Quag.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you should sign up for one of the author talks. You sound like a group of kids who would love an author talk. Also, I'm originally from Cozad, so I love Lexington, Gothenburg, Cozad areas. I always fun to hear people from my part of the state. All right.
All right. I don't see any other comments or questions that have came in while we were talking about the book festival. So yeah, if nobody has anything else urgent, we could wrap things up here. Any last things you want to say, Tessa or Mylisa?
Check out the website, I guess, for all those links and contact information, and we'll have everything you need up on that National Book Festival Nebraska Festival Near You page.
Mm-hmm. Next week, the books should be available to start or requesting the book club kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, drop me a line if that's something that you're interested in, and we'll make it work with the schedules.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you so much, Tessa and Mylisa. Lisa, thanks so much for doing this for us. This is going to be, I think, some great programming we have this year, and thrilled to have you be participating in it.
Thrilled to be here.
Yeah. All right. All right. I am going to, if I can get, there we go. Pull presenter control back to my screen here and do my wrap up for today's show. So thank you everybody for being here with us. Thank you, Tessa and Mylisa, for being here too. As I said at the beginning, the show is being recorded. This is our event page for today's show, but if you use whatever is your search engine of choice and type in NCompass Live, you'll find our main page here with our upcoming shows and our archive page. So there's a link right here to the show archives. Most recent ones are at the top of the page here. The recording should be ready by the end of the day tomorrow at the latest. It is posted to our Nebraska Library Commission's YouTube channel. And when that's ready, I'll send you, Tessa, the link so you can get that added to the Center for the Book page. We will have the recording, and Tessa's slides will be there as well. I think we did have, yeah, here's last week's where they had recording slides and some additional documents that they shared. But we'll have links to both of those for everyone. Everyone who attended today's show and registered for today's show will get an email from me letting you know when it's ready. We also push out onto our mailing lists here. We have a Nebraska mailing lists, our social media. We have a Facebook page for NCompass Live. So if you'd like to use Facebook, give us a like over there. We do reminders about shows, meet our presenters, and when the recordings are ready, we post here as well. We also use the Library Commission's Instagram. I put things out on my LinkedIn, anywhere we can think of to promote our shows. So you'll be notified there too when the recording is ready. While we're here on the archive page, I will show you there is a search if we've done a show on a particular topic that you may be interested in. You can search our full show archives or just most recent 12 months if you want something very current. And that is because this is our full show archives, as I said, and I'm not going to scroll all the way down because it's a gigantic list, as you can see as I scroll here. But this is our full show archives going back to when NCompass Live first premiered, which was in January 2009. 2009, which means, and I always have to do the math. I always have to do the math every year because it just kind of blows my mind. 2026 is the 18th year of the show. We're still going strong, and we have all of our shows recordings here. So do just be aware when you are watching any of the recordings to the original broadcast date. You see everything as a date, so you know. Some things will be fine to watch, stand the test of time, be good, useful information, but some things will become old and outdated. Resources may have changed drastically or not exist anymore. Links might be broken. People will work at different places than when they presented for us 10, 15 years ago. But this is something libraries do. We keep things for historical purposes. And as long as we have somewhere to keep that, which right now is the Library Commission's YouTube channel, we will always have them available for people to watch for just information or just for historical interest. You can receive continuing education credit for watching our live shows or our recordings. If you watch a live show, it's automatically given to you if you are a Nebraska Library. If you watch an archive show, you'll submit in a form. If you are from some other state, you need to work with your CE granting office, whoever's in charge of that, to receive continuing education hours or credits for watching recordings or live shows. Anyone who watches a live show, you will receive an email within the next hour or so of confirmation that you watched the live show. It shows your proof of attendance and has a certificate even attached to it for you. So you will get that. All right, so that wraps it up for today. Next week, it is Pretty Sweet Tech Day. The last Wednesday of the month usually is Pretty Sweet Tech Day, when our technology innovation librarian, Amanda Sweet, joins us to talk about something tech related. We may have other shows during the month that are tech related too, but you can always depend on Amanda to be here at the end of the month. And next week, she's going to be talking about libraries building AI literacy. AI is a big topic now, of course, and it can be very overwhelming, I think, and scary to many people. And she's going to try to make it a little bit less stressful for you to just make sure your staff and your community is aware of what's going on in the AI world. So do join us for next week's NCompass Live. You can register for that or any of our other upcoming shows we have coming up. We've got our August dates getting filled in there as well. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We got some thank yous coming into the questions that I pop back over here. Thank you to the presenters today. And I hope some of you will watch the Nebraska or the National Book Festival, or attend it if you're lucky, or participate in our activities here with the book club book club kids, hard to say, and have Mylisa do a author visit for you. All right, thank you, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you all on a future episode of NCompass Live. Bye-bye.
Bye.